Hey everyone, it is Andrew here from AppleInsider. Obviously, we are still here staying quarantined, which was perfect because it gave us an excuse to spend quite a bit of time with Apple's latest new product, the new second generation iPhone SE. And honestly, it's kind of crazy. We've been spending a ton of time playing and benchmarking with this phone and comparing it to a lot of the other phones that we have here in inventory in our studio. So all the newest generation iPhones, a few older iPhones, the original iPhone SE, and a bunch of Android handsets. And it's kind of crazy how well this phone stacks up. So in this video, we're gonna walk you through not only just why this phone is such a great bargain in general, but why it's an absolute steal at its price, and why this unassuming mid-cycle revamped iPhone 8 remains one of the best deals in tech at the moment. So stick with me, let's go through this video. We're gonna walk through some facts and figures and why this phone is just such an incredible value. So the 2020 iPhone SE. You've seen this before. We're not going to kind of rehash all the features and processor and specs, all that kind of stuff. You don't need to do that in this video. There's a million videos out there that already go through that stuff, written text, go read it on AppleInsider. That's fine by me. I'm not going to waste your time here going through those. But Apple did make a lot of important changes to help this phone, work into the future. Things like Wi-Fi 6 support, wireless charging, things like that are going to be important. But when we compare this phone to other Android handsets that are similar price range, like the Pixel 3a or the Galaxy A51, you do notice some things where it just doesn't quite measure up. And that's going to be things like maybe the cameras. There's only that one rear-facing camera. It's 12 megapixels versus the crazy 48 or something megapixels on the Galaxy phone. It doesn't have an OLED display like we see on others, including the 3a from Google's Pixel phone. So there are areas like that, but really those are more superficial things. Cameras, for instance, computational photography is really where we're moving. So the hardware doesn't need to change all that much to get incredible photos. Apple can continue to push this and improve the cameras and photo quality through software updates. I mean, the iPhone 11 Pros already have that 12 megapixel camera, so it's not like this is a bad camera by any means. It's similar to the one they're using on those Pro phones. It just doesn't have an ultra wide or any of those. Fact is, the most important thing on the iPhone SE is going to be the processor. Now, Apple is using the same A13 Bionic processor that it's using on the iPhone 11, the iPhone 11 Pro, and the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Now, to be fair, Apple is stepping down the processor just a little bit. Its single core scores on Geekbench are pretty much the same as they are for the 11 line, but the multi-core scores are a little bit down below. For instance, we have a 1330 and a 1332 for the single cores, but a 3324 compared against a 2322 for the iPhone SE. So the multi-core scores are a little bit lower, even though it's still rocking the same A13 Bionic processor. And that's likely just due to the size of the phone. This is a nice, small, compact phone. Apple doesn't want to run too hot or anything like that, so they are clocking down that processor just a tiny bit. Now, while it is a little bit underpowered compared to the Pros, what really matters is how it compares to other $400 handsets, and that is where it measures up incredibly well. So looking at those Android handsets, the iPhone SE, again, it scores a 1332 for that single core test. The Pixel 3a, however, is only scoring a 345, and the Galaxy A51 is only scoring a 321. Those are abysmal and like 1/3 or 1/4 of what the iPhone SE is scoring. The iPhone SE similarly outperforms on that multi-core test. We're getting a 2322 on the multi-core test, whereas the Pixel is only earning a 1297, and the Galaxy fares a tiny bit better with a 1421. Those scores are so much lower than the iPhone's is. So when you're looking at performance, just base performance between all three of those budget phones that are priced pretty much the same, the iPhone SE kicks their butt. But not only that, what happens if we take the budget iPhone SE, the cheapest iPhone Apple makes right now, and compares it to the higher end Galaxy S20 Plus? The iPhone SE still wins in single core, the 1332 versus a 748, and it almost ties when it comes to multi-core with its 2322 versus the Galaxy's 2645. That is kind of crazy that Apple's cheapest phone is able to outperform in some ways the higher end Galaxy units from Samsung. That is just amazing. And when you're looking to feel good about picking up a budget phone, there's no better way than seeing that, single core outpacing the Galaxy and seeing the multi-core coming in at almost the same. But performance isn't the only thing that matters. iPhones have historically beaten out Android and Galaxy handsets by quite a bit when it comes to performance. What also matters is the longevity and value of these phones going into the future. A recent Yale-led study showed that iPhones have a lifespan of about 67 months, whereas Galaxy phones or Android phones are limited to only 54.5 before they outlast their usefulness. That's almost an entire year. It's actually a little bit more than a year that the iPhones get in lifespan compared to Android phones. And on top of that, you have to look at how long they're supported from their manufacturers. Let's consider the 2015 iPhone 6s. Apple continues to bring new features and functionality through updates of iOS 13 years after it was released. We're in 2020 at the moment. It's 5 years past and it is still receiving updates. Whereas the other 2015 phone, the Samsung Galaxy S6, doesn't have quite a good story. It was last updated to Nougat or Android 7 back in 2017. Android 7 was actually released in 2016 from Google, but didn't come to the S6 until 2017. And it really received only its last Android 7 feature update in 2018. But then that's been it. So it's been a couple of years now since we've received an update to that phone. And at that point, it was still on Android 7, not any subsequent version of Android. So support for manufacturers and carriers has been abysmal compared to what you get with the iPhones in the new iPhone SE and what we can expect going into the future for this excellent phone. Now, the iPhone 6s was a flagship phone for Apple, so it makes sense that they support it longer. But the iPhone SE, that was released only months later after the iPhone 6s, is also still supported. Nearly almost 5 years, it's been about 4 or so years since that came out, still being supported with future updates, and that was a pared-down phone from the beginning, unlike the new one, which is receiving that A13 Bionic processor. Now, it's not just about, all of those things. We take a look at that so far. We have Apple supporting phones for years after Samsung's including to do so. We have the longevity of the phones lasting into the future. The iPhones last more than a year longer than comparable Android handsets do, from a study of over 500,000 from a Yale-based study, which is extremely reputable. But we also have to look at how much these things are worth. Like, that may be good, but if no one wants these phones or uses them, what's really the point? Well, if we look at the iPhone X, released years ago, it's still receiving over $300 on eBay for used models. You can easily pick one up now for over $300 on average. Whereas if you get the comparable same year phone from Galaxy, from Samsung, the S8, it's only going for maybe $100 to $150. Less than half of what an iPhone X is going for that was released at the same time. So if you're going around looking for a new phone right now, you don't want to spend a lot, and you're debating between these Android handsets and the iPhone SE. They're all that same price tag up front. They're all going for that $399 price tag before you start tacking on additional things like 5G or more storage, anything like that. But just that base price tag. The iPhone SE is by far a better value. Apple has shown that it supports phones for longer. It has a higher resale value, as you can see, from phones that are years old and still fetching good sums on eBay. Apple continues to offer those software updates, it sells for more money, and a Yale-backed study shows that these phones last longer and are useful longer than Android handsets. So if you're debating between the two, it seems pretty obvious on which one you should choose. Now, of course, it's always going to be up to you and maybe your operating system of choice or what you've historically used, but it is no denying that the new iPhone SE is a fantastic value. This phone is ridiculously well packed and well suited to go long into the future. The fact that Apple included its best processors, that this cheapo phone is the same performance as a high-end Android handset, is absolutely crazy. So if you're debating between the two, absolutely choose the iPhone SE. Now, I know you guys are going to have a lot of opinions about this, so let me know over on Twitter at Andrew_OSU. And if you want to grab an iPhone SE, check out the best deals at the links down below in the description. Hey everyone, did you guys like that video? Be sure to click on that like button so we can create content that we know that you guys want to see. And follow AppleInsider on all social media channels.
If you want the best prices on any Apple gear, check out the Apple Insider price guide that is updated daily. And until next time, we'll see you later.